Hello, this is cjhoyle. Today is Thursday, November the 11th, 2021, and I'm here at the intersection of King Street and William Street in Uptown Waterloo. I've got this folding bike here with me today, and in this video I'm going to be riding this bike through Uptown Waterloo and heading over to check out the two universities that are here in the City of Waterloo. Alright, so here on King Street I will begin my way heading in the north direction, and as you can see on my right I'm riding along beside some LRT tracks, or light rail train tracks. Waterloo back in 2019 got an LRT installed, or it opened and went into service in 2019. It's called the Ion, and it replaced a bus line that sort of went from the top of Waterloo down to the bottom of Kitchener. The bus line used to be called the I-Express. And right here we're just riding through the area that's known as Uptown Waterloo, which is where sort of the old historic, I guess, downtown area of this community exists. So lots of retail and sort of older buildings, 2- and 3-story retail sort of places and banks and stuff like that. Just waiting here at this traffic light before we can continue. Over on the left, up ahead just beyond this traffic light, is Waterloo Square, which is like a sort of central square for the city here. And it seems like we've got some congestion here. I think I will ride around. Oh, seems to be moving now. The great news is that there is a cycle track up ahead that I'll be able to get onto, which will mean that I will have my own lane and I won't need to share one with the slow-moving vehicles that are on here. And that lane begins just over here to the right, and actually it's not very clear as to how you're actually supposed to get into it. We've got a red light, although I think that's for the pedestrian walkway, so I think I'm able to continue. But yeah, somehow you're supposed to make your way up here, and the bike lane is actually on what kind of looks like the sidewalk, but it's actually, as you can see from the symbol on the concrete, it's actually a grade level type of bike lane. And we're just approaching the intersection of King Street and Herb Street. And look at that, there's a counter for how many bikes have gone through. I was cyclist number 23 for today. I'm guessing that a lot of this infrastructure was installed very recently, and I'm sure that counter is like that. I have to say, these grade separated bike lanes are great for many reasons, but that's probably the 5th time that I've encountered a pedestrian walking in it, not realizing that it's not a sidewalk. Just passing Long and McQuaid Musical Instruments on the right, and the Hoothier Hotel coming up on the left. If you're familiar with my YouTube channel, you know that I am based in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I make a lot of bike riding videos like this where I narrate and I ride around the city of Toronto. But I'm actually somewhat familiar with this city because I studied at the University of Waterloo during my university years. I was a student in this city from 2007 until 2012 when I graduated. Did a 5-year engineering program, which included co-op. So it's really a 4-year program that they've extended to allow students to have lots of work experience before graduation. So this cycle track that's built here, they are planning on extending it, and it will go all the way as far north as Columbia Street, I believe. But as of right now, it sort of dead ends here, and in fact, King Street up ahead is currently under construction with that project. So I'm actually going to take a left turn here, but I rode through there earlier, and like I said, the road is closed. You can't drive on it, and even the sidewalks are really not very good for even walking on. They're sort of, there's all kinds of obstacles you have to get around, so I considered riding that way, but I thought, no, let's just cut that corner out of our ride. So from here, now I've sort of left the Uptown Waterloo area, and I'm riding past McGregor Senior Public School on our right, and I'm now heading towards the area of town, or the area of the city, where two universities exist, Wilfred Laurier University and the University of Waterloo, which is where I went to school. So I'll be riding past Laurier, and I'll be riding through the University of Waterloo campus, and because that's actually the area of Waterloo that I'm definitely the most familiar with, because that's where I spent most of my time when I was living in this city. At a stop sign, I'm turning here onto Albert Street. But yeah, in the future you will be able to follow King Street all the way up to, like I said, Columbia, which is sort of two major concessions north of here. The next one is University Avenue, though, which is actually the one that I was planning on taking for this video. So we're not missing too much. But up ahead here on the right is the Wilfred Laurier University campus. Wilfred Laurier, of course, was Prime Minister of Canada. And this university actually, it goes by the initials WLU, Wilfred Laurier University. But those are actually the initials that it's always had, because before it was actually renamed Wilfred Laurier University, it had a different name, and that was Waterloo Lutheran University. So when they decided to rename it, it's neat that they were able to come up with a name that they could use that would allow them to maintain their initials. Initials are, can be a big part of university identities when they're branding themselves. And I'm sure they renamed themselves because, I guess, two reasons. It would have been confusing having a University of Waterloo and a Waterloo Lutheran University, two universities with Waterloo in their name, but also because I don't think the university has any religious affiliations anymore, Lutheran being a branch of church. I'm going to be taking a left here. This is University Avenue, so we kind of saw, we didn't see a lot of it there, but that was Wilfred Laurier University. It's not a huge campus, but we passed it there on the right, and I'm sure there are other buildings that are not far away that are also associated with the campus. But now we're heading, I guess, kind of in the west direction towards the University of Waterloo campus. And this is Leicester Street that we're going to cross here. And a lot of the towers that you see around here, well, a lot of them weren't here when I was a student, 10 years ago or so. It used to be more just sort of old single-family homes, but I guess the university has expanded a fair bit. They needed more places for people to live, so those are all private developments, though, as far as I know. No direct affiliation with the university. This plaza that we're coming past over on the right, it's sort of like, we call it the University Plaza. It's like, directly adjacent to the university. It's got all kinds of restaurants and things. It's just sort of the place that I would very regularly go with my classmates to get typically dinner. We would have our dinners here. Often I would bring my own lunch from home. And yeah, so straight ahead, that is the University of Waterloo campus, which I'll just I'll curl around here to the left and then we'll enter inside. And you can see there's a skywalk across the road here, and that connects the campus with a parking lot, which is across the street. And I think this is a red light because there's about to be a train that will come through here. They haven't closed the... Oh, it's for the crosswalk over there. Never mind. So these train tracks that you can see straight ahead are part of the LRT. These train tracks have always been here, or at least there was one set of tracks. But they've used the rail right of way here, and that's now where the LRTs run, and they run right into the Waterloo campus. And we'll be passing the stop that's sort of central in the campus. And that road that's over on my right is the University of Waterloo Ring Road, so I'll actually be turning onto that and we'll come back that way. And I'll give you a tour of inside the campus, mostly focusing on the areas that I'm familiar with. And before today, the last time that I was here was 2018. Although I didn't really spend very much time here in 2018, I just sort of walked through, and that had been my first time here in probably 3 or 4 years before that too, so it's always neat coming back and seeing what's changed since I was a student. So this area of the campus is the area that I'm the most familiar with. That building that's over there on the left that we're passing is the Douglas Wright Engineering Building, or DWE. Like I said, all the buildings have acronyms, or maybe I didn't say that. I was talking about universities having acronyms, but on the university campus, most things have an acronym. I guess because everyone's in such a hurry, they don't have time to say the full name of everything. So DWE is what most people would call that. The next building where the skywalk there connects to is Carl Pollock Hall, or CPH. And sort of through that tunnel there is, you know, where a lot of the other faces of these engineering buildings are. And I think we've passed Pollock Hall now, CPH, and now the buildings that are on our left are part of Engineering 2, and Engineering 3 is just sort of beyond it. And there's another skywalk here which connects to a couple of other buildings on the other side, which are Engineering 5 and Engineering 6, which were both completed during my time here. In fact, in my first couple of years, there was just a parking lot there, where both of those now sit. And that building that's over there on the left, it looks kind of funny, that is the Davis Center, or DC, named after Bill Davis, the at one time Premier of Ontario. And they say that it was designed to sort of look like a computer chip when you look at it from a satellite view or from above. At least that's a rumor. I don't know whether that's actually true. So yeah, over there is that University of Waterloo LRT stop for the LRT. So if you wanted to get from here to Uptown Waterloo, you could take a train. Over there on the left, you can see a stack. That is the central plant for this campus. Waterloo has a centralized heating system, so they have a bunch of boilers inside that building that they use to create steam. And then the steam is sent all over the campus through underground tunnels that have steam pipes in them. And then that steam is used for heating the various different buildings. So it's sort of like a centralized system. I think they probably do the same for cooling, but I could be wrong about that. Having chillers and chilled water going around the campus. Of course, those tunnels, as convenient as they would be for getting around, they're not open to the public. But the campus really has gone to a lot of effort to make those skywalk bridges everywhere. Used to be a fun activity that I would do with my classmates, you know. In between classes for fun, we would try to get from one building to another without going outside. And it is actually possible most of the time. They are all interconnected in one way or another. But usually it's not the most direct route because you'll have to, go up a level to cross a bridge and then go down a level to go under a tunnel. And, you're spending a lot of time climbing stairs and going downstairs. I definitely have a lot of fond memories from here. There was definitely a lot of work. Waterloo has a reputation of being, at least Waterloo engineering has a reputation of being pretty difficult to get in and difficult to stay in. So it was a lot of work for those 5 years, but like I said, definitely remember a lot of fun times here. This building we're passing on the right is called Fed Hall, or Federation Hall. It's operated by the Federation of Students. And just over here on the right is Village 1, which is a bunch of different buildings that are all connected together, which are for student residences. And actually, the building where I stayed in my first year is North 5, just over there in Village 1. So I spent my first year living there, and then they only let first year students really live in those types of accommodations, and after then you're pretty much forced to look for your own accommodations off-site, which is what I did. And that building on the left there is the PAC, or Physical Activity Center, and the building just beyond it is the Student Life Center, or SLC, which in the basement of it is the University of Waterloo Bike Center, which is a do-it-yourself bike shop where I used to volunteer when I was a student here. And in fact, some of the very early bicycle maintenance tutorials that I filmed were filmed in that workspace. This building on the left here is the Quantum Nano Center, which is the building that was just a construction site for most of my time here. And now we're into Biology 1 and 2, which are outside of the areas of study, so I didn't spend any time in these areas. But I'll continue because we'll just sort of go a little bit further, but if I followed Ring Road this way, it would go all the way around to where I came into the campus. But again, I don't really know. There wasn't virtually anything that I ever did on this side of campus, so I don't really know very much about it. Building we just passed there on the left was Ira Needles Hall. I think what I'll do is I'll make a left turn here and I'll go in between a couple of the other buildings here, and we can see some of the buildings that are not visible from Ring Road. And that building that's straight ahead is the Dana Porter Library, or DP. I think it was used more by the arts departments, where the DC, or Davis Center, was mostly sciences and engineering. That's where I spent, time studying. That building which is straight ahead there is the Arts Lecture Hall. And we'll just ride past DP here to the Campus Green in the middle. I think that's what it's called. That building that's straight ahead is called Graduate House. And I think I'll come this way actually. That building straight ahead there, forgetting the name of it, but that's where, for the co-op program where we got interviewed for our various different jobs, that was where the interviews took place. I'll put the name of that on the screen here. And here we're seeing the Douglas Wright Engineering Building from the other side, DWE. And this next building on the right is called RCH, or Rod Coots Hall, which is an engineering lecture hall. And it's in fact where I went on my very first day of class back in September of 2007, 14 years ago. That's the physics building that we're passing on the right now, so we're getting out of engineering again. And yeah, we'll just head over this way and into the area where the math building is. But before we get there, we're going to be passing a couple more science buildings. On both sides we've got biology 1 and 2. You can see I'm reading the signs as I'm riding here, and that big giant concrete brutalist building that's straight ahead is the math building. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed joining me on this narrated tour and this walk down memory lane. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.